Morning, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. My name is Robin Pathak. I am the Workforce Development Program Manager for internship programs at Parkland Hospital and Healthcare System. I have my colleague here with me who would like to introduce himself.
Hi everyone, my name is Rohit Prasad. I am one of the career navigators at Parkland Health. I work pretty heavily with our employees as far as career development, looking at roles they're interested in the hospital. A lot of it is also helping folks figure it out if they want to go back to school and how to afford it. Along with that, I also work with each of our major programs here in development. And so that includes Robin's program with interns as far as check-ins, the application process, interviewing, and recruitment. Nice to meet y'all.
Thank you, Rohit. So today we just want to talk to you about opportunities at Parkland. Parkland is a county hospital that you guys all know, located in Dallas, Harry Hines. And we have like two different type of internship opportunities through Workforce. One is the summer internship opportunities that you guys all know about. That happens every summer. So our applications for that is going to open in December for 2025, and it's going to be an 8 weeks long program for summer internships at Parkland. So the next internship that we have is called the multi-semester internship program. So we're going to talk more heavily on the multi-semester internship program today, as the applications has already opened up and we're in the process of hiring our multi-semester interns for 2025. Um, I'll just give you guys a few minutes. I'm going to share my screen with the multi-semester internship QR code. So this is the QR code that you guys can go to, and you would be able to see the details or the program description on the website here from this QR code. So I'll just leave this up for about 30-40 seconds for you guys to take a picture or like go to the QR code.
They can actually pause it. So if you want to continue, you can. So if someone wants to pause the YouTube video, they can.
Okay, so you guys have seen the QR code. You guys have seen where the application lives. I'll stop sharing my screen and then I'm going to share a little bit about the flyer that we have. So this is a flyer that I'll send it to the Career Center as well at UTA, where you guys would be able to learn more about the multi-semester internship program. The applications are already open, as I said. The applications deadline is December the 6th. That's the last day for you guys to apply. The QR code is here as well for you guys to see. The program will typically start from January 2025 and will end in December 2025. So it's a 1 year long program where you guys would be able to work with supervisors, program managers in different departments of the area of your choice. And this is going to be a year-long internship program where you'll be working 20 hours a week with the department, and you'll be doing some professional trainings with Workforce as well. So it's a great opportunity to go to school as well as get some experience throughout the whole year at Parkland. I'll just pause here right now, and I'm going to share my screen, share the website, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the website as well. Okay, the website is pulling up. Let me go ahead and share my screen again for the website. So this is how the website looks like. So when you click on the QR code, you'll be able to see this page. This page is our official page for multi-semester collegiate internship program. So there's some descriptions here, which I won't be reading about the internship program, but typically, as I said, this is going to be a great experience for anyone who's interested to put their foot in healthcare, to understand what healthcare is. You guys would be able to do internships in non-clinical areas. Most of the internship will be in non-clinical areas, but even if you're placed in a clinical setting, most of the internship would be more of administrative. So if you're placed in a nursing unit, it's going to be more of administrative throughout the whole year. But if you're placed in HR or employee relations or telemedicine, all of those are going to be non-clinical internships here at Park. So there's some, reflections that the previous interns have talked about, which you guys can read on your own, about the experience on which department they worked on, what did they get out of from Parkland's internship programs. So I just want to talk a little bit about the requirements. So you have to be, um, so primarily if you're from Dallas County, it's preferred, but it doesn't. But even if you're not from Dallas County, you can still apply, but you have to be within the DFW area though, because your school needs to be, um, because you have to physically come and work at Parkland. So that doesn't mean there's no online or like out of office type of internship. So you guys have to be there at the campus to do your internship program.
Robin, can
And
you zoom in a little bit?
yeah, zoom in. Okay.
Yeah.
Another requirement is you have to have at least 90 credit hours of your college, undergraduate college course, or you may have be in grad school as well. Okay, so if you have more than 90 college credits and or you're in grad school, you can apply for this internship program. The GPA requirement is 3.0, so if you have 3.0 GPA, you can apply for the program. But we do look into different aspects as we interview you guys as well. So GPA is not only the factor. So if you have 2.9, I still encourage you to apply because there's chances of getting selected into the program with different other application process that we have as well. You have to be eligible to work in the United States, and healthcare should be your area of interest. Like, we do have different areas in healthcare that could be accounting, finance, billing, IT, but like preliminary, our population that we serve is a hospital, so we do take care of patients, and it's a healthcare industry within the area of interest that you have. This internship will be for 12 months. As I said, it's going to be a year-long internship. We'll start from mid-Jan and we'll end in December. And you guys have to be enrolled as a student throughout the whole internship program. So you have to maintain your student status to be an intern at Parkland. So the other requirements that we have is the program agreement, which you guys can click and read. It basically talks about like you have to, be physically present at Parkland to do your internship program. It talks about pay. It talks about different agreements. So let me just click on this. So preliminary, your work will be Monday to Friday. The pay would be $18.25 per hour. You won't be paid for any parking holidays that we have. And the department will be assigned according to your area of interest as well as um, the openings that we have at Parkland as well. Talked about the program's going to be from 1 year, from Jan to December. And again, you have to follow all the Parkland's policies to be to be aligned with Parkland's agreement. And then there'll be a background check, there'll be occupational health, there'll be a drug screening, and you have to submit your social and your driver license, your ID status to be qualified for the internship program. And you have to sign this and submit it once you get selected for the interview. So you don't have to do this right now at the time of application. So, and then if you look into more of additional information, you'll be able to see application instructions as well as the program agreement there. And this is the most important piece of the website is the application submission deadline is December 7, 2024. If you click on apply now, you will be, this page will pop up. So this is the Parkland's official application page for jobs. So you just click on apply now. And then once you do that, then you'll be creating an account for yourself. You'll be uploading all your information in that account. And once you do submit, then this will come to our talent acquisition team. They'll review their applications and it'll come to the hiring manager. And once the hiring manager and the team reviews your application, then you'll get a notification for interviews. Hopefully, you'll get notification around first or second week of December, and the interviews will be in December. So you guys would be able to start in January 2025. So this is what I have so far. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to pass the microphone to Rohit to talk more about the interview opportunities at Parkland and what's the process and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me share my screen here. Got a couple of slides for us to take a look at. So really quickly, I'm gonna just talk through resumes interviewing. Resume just very briefly, just to make sure everyone kind of has the same standard. And this is based on feedback we've gotten in the past, just to make sure that the materials coming in are, kind of just meeting a certain standard, just because people might be getting different information from their colleagues, from their friends, or even career centers. Like there's different information on what the standard is out there. And so we just like to have just some information out there as to what we're expecting, right? That way, just for consistency. So one of the main things that we look at is kind of just standardized format. For most folks, it's going to be a single page. Now, Robin, are there occasions where you accept more than one page, or is one page still your go-to?
One page is a good resume. Yeah.
Okay, so one page is still the go-to for the program. Typical font size is usually around 11 to 12. Now, some folks, you may go a little bit smaller, maybe to like size 10. That's if you really need the space, but usually between 10 and 12 is okay. Try to stick to a very standard font style. You don't want something too like cursive-y or flashy. Um, the standard font styles are always been pretty good. The default one, Calibri, Times New Roman, Arial, those have always worked pretty good. Always check your spelling, reread your resume multiple times. If you don't, also look at spell check and look at a tool called Grammarly. It can be useful for catching things, but at the end of the day, those tools don't catch everything because a resume is inherently designed to be kind of choppy in the way it's written. Because a lot of the descriptions kind of start in the middle, like assisted with, supervised with, managed a team of. They're not whole sentences typically. And then watch your tenses. So anything that you're currently doing, it needs to be in current tense, or present tense, like assist, manage, supervise. If you no longer hold the role, then it needs to be past tense, usually with an ED. So assisted, managed, supervised, and so on, whenever you have your verb usage in there. Couple other things that can be helpful. Avoid using first person pronouns within your summary and your resume. Most resumes are written in third person. Um, Bring copies of your resume if you can to any in-person interviews. Those can be helpful because they're often in a panel format. Having a folder or portfolio. Now, you don't necessarily need like a leather-bound portfolio per se, but even just a simple like folder you can get at like Walmart or Staples is totally fine. That way you can keep a couple blank pages in there as well as your resume in there, a couple copies. The blank pages are useful for when you're taking notes, which we'll talk about in a sec. Make sure your resume is up to date. This is a really big one. If you currently hold a role, make sure it's reflected on your resume. The same thing when it comes to your degree. Even though you haven't finished your degree yet, go ahead and list what degree you're currently working on and put what expected date you'll be probably finishing. Usually it's a December, 2027 or like May 2027 and so on. But make sure your current information is on there, including your in-progress degrees. Um, so make sure your experiences, work experience, and education is up to date. And then resumes are generally reverse chronological, meaning that your most recent stuff is written first and your older stuff goes after. So newest stuff on top, older stuff as you go down. Those are just a couple of best practices. Of course, if you're needing more assistance with your resume, talk to your career center. You guys have resources here at UTA. Definitely use them. To my understanding, they're free. So be sure to utilize that service if you're not certain about your resume or you don't feel too confident in it. So utilize your resources available to you. So those are some practices on resume. Now, interviewing is another huge part of it. So to secure any role, including this internship, there's two main pieces with really anything. There's your materials, like your resume and application, And then there's nailing the interview. That's another really big part of it. So I'll kind of go over some best practices related to interviewing. That'll be useful for you really no matter what you do. One is early we talked about that kind of pad folio where you can have like notes in your resume. This can be very helpful when you have complex questions thrown at you, right? So if you have multi-step questions where maybe they're asking about a leadership example, they want you to focus on a process as well as results. Let's say there's multiple things that they're asking for in that question. Notes can really help because you can use shorthand notes to help remember what they said versus having to ask, would you mind repeating yourself, please? Or having them repeat the whole thing. Or worse, sometimes people can derail in the middle of an interview. They're talking through their answer, they're getting about halfway, and then they just kind of forget what else to say or they forget what else they need to address. So notes can be very useful for that. Reducing distractions. So as much as you can, try to reduce distractions in an interview. So silence your phone. I know, for example, myself, I usually just turn off my phone altogether. I've had some previous students have like an Apple Watch or something or a smartwatch that might vibrate or go off or even flash. Make sure you put that on silent. And a lot of times it's easier just to take it off, put it in your backpack until your interview's over. Um, Small talk, that's usually a part of interviewing. When you first kind of start, they may ask how you're doing, what's your day been like. So that's a pretty normal part of interviewing, is even that small talk in the beginning, just to kind of gauge friendliness and personality a little bit. Now, a much bigger part of interviewing is confidence. Now, with confidence, I will say, even with a lot of these things in here that we're going to talk about really quick, there is no quick fix to confidence. Confidence, a lot of it takes practice and it takes time. Some of the things that I'm going to talk about today, they can help in terms of when you notice them, you can make an adjustment, but they're usually not permanent. Again, it takes time. So what are a couple things that you can do to help improve confidence or at least kind of fake it till you make it, right? So one is eye contact. So when people, for example, interview look away a lot, let's say they're looking at the clock or they're looking out a window or the door, we tend to notice that. So breaking eye contact a lot or not making eye contact is a negative. On the other hand, you definitely don't want to stare down like your interviewer and all you're doing is making eye contact. So there's a nice in between. Volume and expression. So you want to adjust the volume that you're speaking based on the circumstance. So if it's an individual interview, like let's say in someone's private office, you don't necessarily have to project that much. But if you're in like a panel interview in like a large conference room, you might have to project a little bit so people a little bit further away can hear you better. So volume is another piece just to be kind of cognizant about. Nonverbal expressions. So this is kind of like, do you even seem interested that you want to be there, right? How's your body posture? Are you leaning in a little bit? Are you slouched a little bit? Um, Even things, for example, like when people get nervous, they might like rock back and forth a little bit. A really common one is people might shake their leg. So just when you notice that you're doing that nonverbal or it might be distracting, try to reduce it or eliminate. So if you notice your leg is shaking, go ahead and stop if you can, right, in an interview. Another one is pacing. So pacing is a huge part of interviewing. Think of it kind of like when you have a speaker in front of class and they have a ton of content in their slides, and they're talking through everything super quickly. Maybe they covered everything in like 10 seconds. What do people remember about that? For the most part, they don't remember much of anything, right? And so pacing is really important because if you slow down the pace at which you talk, it can help people listen better. It's easier to hear you and it's easier to pick up on wording. And so the reverse is true. When people go too fast, as an interviewer, we have trouble picking up on your key points. So you might be the best candidate for the job or the role, but you're just going through it too quickly and we're just not able to catch your main ideas. So when people get nervous, they tend to speak really quickly. So if you notice yourself doing that, just pause or take a moment and just slow down while you're talking and get it back to a normal pace. A couple last key things here, use keywords and skills. So if you can make a connection to the role or the organization or our values here at Parkland directly when possible. So, for example, instead of us connecting the dots that you might be a good for like a leadership type role, for example, or that you're really good in like working on teams, just tell us you're good at on teams and then provide examples, right? So solidify what you're saying. So think of it like you're making a claim about yourself and you're trying to support that claim with evidence. You have the same thing when you write research papers. You have a main idea or a claim that you're making, and then you're backing that up with research or support. The difference really is in an interview, your support is like real life examples, things you've done in school, things you've done in work, things you might do in extracurriculars that support the claim you're making about yourself. And then lastly, take ownership of what you have responsibility over. So if you work in a group project, what was your role in that group project? You know, a lot of times we see when people work in groups, or even in helping professions, we have a tendency to say that we helped or we assisted with things when really it was our responsibility. Like, hey, I had responsibility over perhaps creating these slides, or I had responsibility over executing a certain project versus just assisting with a project. Assisting with a project and leading a project are two different things, right? And so that's why you want to be very clear when you have a responsibility over something, when something is your task to oversee, make sure you state it that way. Not everything is you assisting with something, right? What part did you have kind of purview over um, and ownership over? So those are really just a couple things I wanted to go over. Um, Briefly, I just want to cover methods because there's a lot of materials, I'm sure, by the Career Center on methods that you can look at, but a couple examples of basic questions and a couple examples of behavioral questions. So there's two main types. With common questions, you answer the question itself directly. So like strength, what's the strength? State it. Describe what you mean by said strength. So like, let's say communication, what type of communication? What do you mean by that exactly? And then support. Again, support's going to be like the big part of your answer. Why should we believe you, right? So what exactly have you done that makes you a good communicator? That's an example of common question. Now, the more advanced questions we tend to get are behavioral questions, and these are going to be in every interview that you get, including interns, the internship process. There are behavioral questions. These are typically, they're meant to gauge your response or how you handle something. They use something called the STAR method, which you can definitely look up online. There's a great graphic by the Balance Careers. I believe they're not called the Balance Money. They explain this process pretty well. But it's situation, task, action, result. You're basically talking through a process. So situation is what's going on, who's involved. Um, Task is what's your goal. So task is actually really short. It's what's your intention in this particular scenario. Are you trying to de-escalate something? Are you trying to improve something? Are you trying to create something? What's your task? Action is actually a good chunk of the answer. These are the actual steps that you're taking in order to finish that process, including what steps you're taking in terms of your role. And lastly, the result. The result's your conclusion. What happens? Good ending, bad ending. If it wasn't that great, what'd you learn from it? Right? What are your key takeaways? There's another method as well out there, storytelling, which is one I kind of use. But basically, it's similar to telling a narrative. There's a beginning to the story, like setting the scene. There's the middle where all the plot takes place, and then there's the ending, which is your conclusion. So at the end of the day, it's a narrative, though. So definitely utilize your support from the Career Center. They cover these materials in much more depth, and definitely practice before the real interview itself. Practice can make a lot of difference in how you do. But yeah, and that's the graphic I was talking about earlier, but you can also, again, just look up, it's called the Balance Money now, I think. If you search the Balance Money star method or behavioral interviewing, there's a lot of materials out there that you can take a look at. But yeah, that's really it as far as materials. Robin, did you have anything else you want to share?
Uh, no, I just want to share my contact details. So thank you again, Rohit, for your information about the interview process. So if any of you guys are interested, please do visit our website. As I said, the QR code has been shared on the screen. I will email the flyer as well as the QR code to the UTA Career Center as well. And everyone, if you guys want to contact me, I'm the program manager over the internship programs. My email address is rabin period pathak at phhs.org. My email address will be on the flyer as well as the contact with UTA Career Center. We will look forward for your application. Please do apply. Don't wait until December the 7th. If you have any other questions, please do reach out to me. Thank you again for your time listening to this video, and we look forward for your application. Thank you again.